Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to North Carolina and One Tree Hill. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that if you are bored on this flight and can't play basketball, I don't know, read a book or something.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Max Singer and Rich Inman. How you boys doing today?
Ball, pass me the rock in the corner, I'm open, ball.
Max has fried his brain watching nothing but basketball playoffs for the last month and a half.
Well, boys, rather than talking about the NBA Finals, we decided to take a trip to North Carolina and talk about One Tree Hill. But before we do so, Max, do you mind telling folks what this podcast is all about?
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn a little bit more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes and making us want to watch more, and if we think they can be made today, go back and stream our bank of episodes. Banks open from wherever you get podcasts from. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. Be sure to like and subscribe. The high school team needs new jersey sponsors. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
Oh my gosh. Rich, what is your question of the week?
Well, now I need to start selling candy bars outside the grocery store.
I'll take one. I only have a 20. Can you break that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're going to request change from a child?
Yes.
Remember, I'm only 18. Oh my God. Well, obviously, I had never seen the show before. I don't know if that's the same for the two of you, but this pilot, I guess, probably famously boils down to a one-on-one basketball game between our two half brothers here. And I want to know, what is the most, how confident, A, are you in your own basketball skills right now? And B, what's the most you're betting on a one-on-one game right now?
All right, well, I'll start because you two have both seen me play basketball when I was practicing every day, and it was awful. So to say that I haven't touched a basketball in about 3 years, and that's a conservative guess, I would be willing to bet $1. Do a gentleman's bet. Just be like, I'll play basketball. Am I going to play the toughest defense that you've ever seen in your life? Sure, it's going to be it's going to be very Jim Carrey, Chip Douglas-esque defense where I'm bodying you up. Maybe I'll try to jump on you to dunk the basketball, but it's not going to look good.
On a good day, my skills are
Wind's
Philip
blowing
Seymour
right.
Hoffman in Along Came Polly level.
Oh, Rainmaker.
It is well established on this podcast that I am an alum of the Doc Rivers, John Starks, JCC Take It to the Hoop basketball camp, and later the Brian Scalabrine JCC Take It to the Hoop basketball camp. However,
I love
much
that
like
they
Jeff,
just changed the person's name.
I have not touched a basketball in a non-resort vacation setting by myself in ages. Maybe close to a decade at this point. And is that going to stop me from wagering large sums of money on a pickup game? No, absolutely not. I think every time I step onto that court, I have what it takes to shut down your best guy.
Wow, did you just any given Sunday your basketball skills as a 32-year-old man?
I have what I like to call corgi syndrome, which is I'm not that big, but I think I'm a big dude. So
oh my God.
I'm going to go out there with big dog energy. So I'll see Jeff's dollar and I'll raise him $500.
Woo, holy shit.
Max, you're going to have two black eyes because I'm winning that game. We're going down into the post and I am going to...
$500, Jesus
I'm going to Zach 80 this situation.
Meet me at the lake at midnight, bud.
Rich, I guess I'm curious. You're the only one of us that does a sport recreationally with a ball. So I think you're the closest to playing basketball of any of us.
I will say my hand-eye coordination is good, but it ain't good for that. That is, I have never played basketball on a team or by myself, really, with any consistency. And I think I'm going down 15-0. But if it's someone who feels so confident in their basketball ability that they need to bet me, who clearly does not play basketball very well, I'm gonna also need you to like put me down on the court, like old Yeller style.
Like I want to give the audience an idea of how bad I am at basketball, just so that like you're not like, oh, like Jeff's joking. I was so bad at basketball in middle school that I tried out for the middle school team, and the coach said, "Why don't you be the manager, not of the boys team, of the girls team?"
They said that to Michael Jordan in high school.
That was because my sister was really good and she was on the team and he felt bad for me. So, like, you know what? I'm doing great. I don't need to play basketball.
It was just easier for carpooling if you two went to the same place at the same time.
Oh my God. Well, Rich, thank you for that revealing and honest conversation around our basketball skills. Let's talk a little bit more about this TV show and One Tree Hill. Half-brothers Lucas and Nathan Scott trade between kinship and rivalry, both on the basketball court and in the hearts of their friends in the small but not so quiet town of Tree Hill, North Carolina. Didn't know that the town was called Tree Hill. Now this makes a lot more sense. But yeah. Max, can you make this pilot?
So is One Tree Hill an address?
I guess so.
What is this? Is that the address of the high school? Why is it just...
They ordered one episode of Tree Hill, so it became One Tree Hill. Max, how did the show get made?
To Tree Hill.
No.
It's like a Fast and Furious situation. Today we are talking about the pilot of One Tree Hill, which aired on September 23rd, 2003 on the WB. So today we're talking about the show's writer and creator of Mark Schwab, a writer of teen features in the late 90s and early aughts, best known for his work on The Perfect Score and Coach Carter. Schwab would first pen the film's
This dude loves basketball.
This dude loves ball is life to this guy.
He's betting everything on basketball.
Schwab would first pen the teen films 35 Miles from Normal and Whatever It Takes, the latter being nominated for 3 Teen Choice Awards in 2000, including Choice Sleazebag and Choice Hissy Fit. Meanwhile, Schwab is working on his next feature, a basketball drama called Ravens that gains traction at Warner Brothers, who spent 4 years trying to convince Schwab to redevelop the script as a TV series. One change requested by the WB is a less sports-centric name, and so it becomes One Tree Hill, a name picked from the song of the same name on U2's The Joshua Tree album.
What?
My God.
Really?
Fun fact, with the exception of the pilot, every single episode of One Tree Hill is named after a song.
Oh.
Okay.
I mean, there's got to be a song called Pilot out there somewhere.
There's 21 pilots, actually.
Yeah, no, they knew beforehand. They were like, we want 21 of these pilots.
So both Scott brothers took interesting casting paths to landing their roles. James Lafferty did in fact play on his high school basketball team and had just come off of the ESPN original TV movie A Season on the Brink about the 1985-86 Indiana Hoosiers, starring Lafferty as Steve Alford and Brian Dennehy as Coach Bobby Knight. In very 2003 pilot season lore, Chad Michael Murray actually dropped out of the OC, where he had landed the role of Ryan Atwood, to join production on One Tree Hill. He had originally come in to read for Nathan, felt that he was more of a Lucas, and landed the role. Whoa. An entirely different, unaired pilot was filmed. We didn't have 21 pilots, Rich, but we did have 2 pilots for One Tree Hill.
2 Tree Hill.
This version focused on younger versions of the characters Dan and Karen before a time jump ahead to Lucas and Nathan's first day of high school. The pilot was retooled and reshot to the version we know today, and ahead of its premiere, the series was picked up for a full 22-episode order. While the show has gone on to become an iconic piece of 2000s culture with sustained fandom, Schwab saw his own career disappear in 2017 after members of the cast and crew of One Tree Hill, as well as his ongoing project The Royals at E!, issued statements recounting incidents of sexual harassment and verbal abuse at the hands of Schwab on set. While his own career has since ended, the cast seems open to reclaiming the show's success on their own terms through a rewatch podcast called Drama Queens, hosted by Hilarie Burton, Bethany Joy Lenz, and Sophia Bush. A final basketball-centric fun fact for today's episode: the Tree Hill High School gym, where all basketball scenes were filmed for the show, is the court at Emsley A. Lady High School in Wilmington, North Carolina. The very same high school gym Michael Jordan played high school basketball.
That's dope.
It's really, really fucking cool.
I can't believe they actually shot it in North Carolina. That's surprising.
Yeah, Wilmington, baby.
I have one more fun fact for both of you. So one of the executive producers has a Seinfeld character named after him because he had been producing across like MTV and a couple other properties that had like overlapped with the production of Seinfeld. And that is Mr. Crazy Joe Davola. He is an executive producer on One Tree Hill, and you can see his name in the end credits for this episode.
That's awesome. Thank you both for that little bit of how this got made. Let's talk a little bit more about this pilot. And we start off this show with basketball. I know, big surprise, right? We see two very different types of games going on. One is the run up to the big game at the high school. We see Nathan, his dad, Dan, telling him he has to put up 20 shots. There's obviously some contentiousness with his coach. And then we see Lucas, just dribbling out in the street.
The position is juxta, boys.
Yeah, it is very much a tale of two different sides of the track.
And I'm so fucking in. I'm so in. You start a show with a mysterious hooded figure dribbling a basketball in the dark while some early aughts ass rock is blasting in my ear, and I'm sold. You cut that to high school hoops at the gym, coach and star fighting with each other. I'm sold. I didn't know this was a show about basketball. I knew nothing about One
I actually
Tree
didn't
Hill.
either.
I didn't either.
Okay. Wow, a show it's Jeff's first time watching. Shocker.
Yeah.
Hey.
I knew nothing. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is a basketball drama. This is a high school basketball drama. I'm so fucking in.
Yeah, now that the Knicks are out, this is Max's first time watching basketball again, so, he's fully 100% in.
But, is it the whole time? I know, obviously, the three of us have clearly never watched this because, the one thing that, I was curious about after watching the movie Friday Night Lights and then following with the series Friday Night Lights is that there's not as much football in the series. Is this all basketball centric?
Well, the basketball season has to end at some point.
Yeah,
I don't believe that it's 12 years.
No, endless summer.
At some point, it's football season, and then it's AAU season, and then it's basketball season again. That's how the calendar works. I will say, the first note I have is I would have to call Chad Michael Murray for a whistle. He was carrying the ball while he was dribbling. That is a turnover in the official sport, so I'm so sorry about that. But, we get a really... I don't know about either of you, but basketball was the big sport at my school in high school. And we both went to we all went to a very basketball centric university as well. And I was hyped from the start. I remember going to the gymnasium on a Friday night and being all right, we're going to watch some basketball. And everyone is putting this central figure of Nathan up as the most popular kid at the school who can do no wrong because he can put a ball through a hoop, even though he's an asshole.
But what he really wants to do is theater.
different movie.
Rich, you watched episode 2.
yeah, sorry, I've been reading ahead.
I need to throw out a really quick wait a moment and a brief follow-up conversation to this. So, with the game on the line, Nathan, he gets benched by his coach and then put back in to try to, save the day with the game. And there's a line which I believe comes from Peyton, his cheerleader girlfriend, who we're going to learn a whole lot more about.
Thank you for bringing this up. I had this on my notes.
And as he goes to try to tie the game with a few seconds remaining, she whispers to him, "Don't bother showering tonight."
Yeah.
Is that a sex thing?
That's 100% a sex
thing. That's a really gross sex thing.
So yeah. Rich, back to you on this one as the only person who plays in an adult sports league. Picture this. You've been catching behind the plate in your adult league baseball game, 9 innings. It's bottom 9. Your team's down by 1 run, 2 outs, bases loaded. And your partner, while you're in the on-deck circle, whispers to you, "Don't bother showering tonight." What do you do?
I think she forgot to pay the water bill. That's because no one wants that. I don't want to be around myself when I haven't showered.
Oh God. So one thing, bringing us back to this pilot, right? Like we see Lucas and Nathan play. This show is, and the director, it is written to make sure that these two are our main figures that we're focusing on no matter what, and we want to link them together no matter what. From everything to they both hit game-winning shots, and they're very different types of basketball games. And we see both of them return home in very different ways, including how do you steal a school bus? Like I feel like we were missing seeing them steal the school bus, and I was just like, oh, I have in my notes, and I was like, oh, I didn't know Nathan got to drive the bus home. Like,
yeah, that would have been something I would have liked to have. I would have liked to have seen as part of the story, because I mean, they. I will say is this still technically the cold open or the introduction or like first act, or like, I don't even know how
it's just all your first act, because all we get is a title card up top. There's no real cold open or break for a theme song. We don't get theme music in this, so we'll just call it Act 1.
Yeah, and there's a crowd of kids that have decided to go on the school bus, which I don't know. You need a special license to drive a school bus, I assume.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
there's no way anyone in my life when I was 17 years old, I would have felt comfortable behind the wheel of a school bus.
You didn't know Nathan Scott, man. My dude could fucking ball on a school bus, on the court, wherever he wants.
Not knowing anything else about this show also really gave me that, oh my God, is he about to become like a paraplegic getting hit by this train? Like, is that where the show goes?
That's such a different show.
I know.
It is, but I'm with you. I had no idea. And they keep cutting the parallels so extreme between Nathan and the joyriding basketball team and groupies and cheerleaders nearly getting hit by a train at the tracks, to Lucas nearly getting hit by Peyton in her car. I think it's also important to show that, like, Peyton, although she's a cheerleader and with Nathan, she's not a part of that group. Like, she has her own identity. That's how we establish that she's going to be unique and interesting and a main character we want to follow. But yeah, even seeing both of them nearly die in the cold open.
Yeah.
This could have been no Tree Hill.
So from here, we get a few different things that happen. One, we see the consequences of action. We get to learn some other characters' names. We get a single appearance of Brian Greenberg as one of the cast members, which I was just like, I know that person, not personally, but I know you from other stuff. And we also get one of my favorite lines of the show, which is when Dan Scott goes up to Whitey Durham. Excuse me.
Extremely North Carolina shit, naming him Whitey Durham.
Played by the incomparable Barry Corbin. And Dan says, "You're full of it, Whitey." And he says, "It comes with old age, Danny. Constipation." And I was just like, best line ever written.
That's the first line of my breakdancing movie. You're full of it, Whitey.
I mean, using this scene to get a better understanding of who our main characters in the basketball team are going to be, like, what is our issue of this episode? Whitey needs they kicked off like 5 other players of the team, but he needs
all
one
but
guy.
4 remained.
Yeah, and seems
they're playing a hard 40. This is gonna be a hard game.
I know they set up the plot as they need one more guy for the team, but there's only 4 dudes on this roster. You're playing those guys for all 40-something minutes out there, they're going to be absolutely gassed. You need to get some bench depth, Whitey. You need to get some guys, just some second-string dudes. It is fascinating to see, though, how we establish that this town has a hierarchy and what power and influence can do for you. Nathan is clearly the ringleader in this operation, and he gets off, pardon my pun here, scot-free, because he has a dad who is a powerful individual, a former star at that high school, he has a future and a chance to go to college for ball, even though I think he's incredibly undersized for his position.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets to keep playing and does not get suspended from school, does not get kicked off the team. Well, they basically say these other kids, their futures are expendable to us. And that's like a real dark realization to have in a high school show.
It's also super interesting how we have this scene and we really sort of get this understanding that, like, for Nathan Scott, ball is life. Like, this is the only thing he does. He plays basketball, he does it really well, and everyone wants him to be successful at it in the town. Meanwhile, on the other side of the equation, we have Lucas, you know, who's quoting Steinbach, like, and talking about, like, all the books he reads, and people are like, oh yeah, you're weird because you read. Like, that is a consistent theme in this show.
That's a normal high school thing. That's a very normal high school thing.
And, like, I think that it's also interesting that we get this scene of seeing Lucas at his mom's cafe, with his friend Haley, and start to get a little bit more of the background of their situation in comparison to Nathan's as well.
Mm-hmm. So I will say the family dynamic of this show is a little confusing to me, because this guy abandons I've abandoned my child, abandons his kid, and then stays in town very nearby, and they still have not, like, there's like very few instances of them running into each other, and like this extremely small town. And like, I don't know, like, I'm sure they're going to expand on this later in the season, but like, everything is like, these are fresh, yet still 17-year-old wounds.
I'll do you one better, Rich. They say that the dad, Dan Scott, you know, he gets Karen, who is Lucas's mom, pregnant when they're still in high school, but he has a future, so he has to go to college. They establish that Nathan and Lucas are 3 months apart in this pilot.
Yeah,
so
which is insane.
He gets Karen pregnant in high school, and then, like, orientation week knocks up Nathan's mom.
They didn't even get their syllabus yet.
Yeah, like, it's the...
and we haven't revealed Nathan's mom at all.
No, we do not.
She's away. She's just away in the pilot.
She's on a business trip or something like that.
We haven't cast her yet.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what happened. I think this is such an interesting thing, because then we get this scene of, like, while Nathan isn't in contact with his birth father, he's in contact with his birth father's brother, aka his uncle. And that is, there's this scene where we have Whitey and Nathan's uncle talking in the office, and like it almost reminded me of the movie Hoosiers, right? Because then it's like, let's go and check out this kid. Like, let's go and see him play. And then the creepiest thing 2 grown men can do is just watching a boy by himself in the park playing basketball and like scouting him. But like,
more Indiana basketball lore, that's like the Larry Bird to Indiana State story, or at least the version that I saw of it from Winning Time on HBO, where they just like watch him playing pickup basketball while working at a hotel or something. And they're
it was
wow,
like against busboys and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he was absolutely dominating like porters and
those are
busboys.
People, Max. They're not. It's not by himself. Busboys are people.
Yeah, Uncle Keith, like the real unsung hero of this pilot, who takes such watchful care of his brother's ignored first child and offers him a job and keeps an eye on him and like helps this kid like stay on the straight and narrow and looks after the mob. Like, there's an entire 17 years of history where Keith was really probably like straining his relationship with his own family to look after this choice his brother made and like how he handled it.
Also, like, I mean, is he homeschooled? Did they go
No. He goes to school. He just doesn't want to be on the So I think that...
So they see each other in school daily.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? So, but they look like they never interact with each other at all. It's so confusing to me.
I think that they did a good job, and we'll sort of skip a little bit forward, right? Because it sounds like Lucas is hesitant to join the basketball team because he doesn't want to prove anything to anyone, even though he loves playing basketball. And we get this really nice scene with his friend Skills telling him like, oh, we're not going to play pickup today because you're an idiot and like you're throwing away your future to make a point. Which like nice
also,
scene.
Skills with some great life advice, some sage life advice.
Like all of his friends.
The crew that Lucas runs with, from Skills to the two guys who provide play-by-play commentary for all the pickup games in the park.
It's like an All That sketch. Like
one of the friends' names is Mouth. That's the name they have on IMDb. Your character's name is Mouth McFadden.
Yeah, listen, if you want to have a good high school experience, you need a Skills, you need a Mouth, and you need a place where all of you could congregate and just be your most authentic selves. Lucas, though, is the most pretentious little piece of shit we may have encountered in any of our teen dramas. There's like so much like classical literature references. When he has the trial at the gym with Coach Whitey, he says that God doesn't watch sports. Oh my God, give me a break, kid.
This is some Holden Caulfield shit. I don't like this character.
Why is there a hole?
Both of the Scott boys ended up in assholes.
If God doesn't watch sports, why is there a hole in the Dallas Cowboys stadium, Lucas? Tell me that.
Damn it.
Explain that to me, because God wants to watch his Cowboys every Sunday.
Explain to me Diego Maradona and the hand of God, Lucas.
It's literally called the hand of God.
It was his hand.
That was God's hand, Rich. I mean, I do like the idea of setting up this slight hesitancy, but then we got that really weird scene where like Lucas, his uncle Keith obviously brings him his jersey from high school for Lucas to wear, and then his mom says, take it off, and then nearly like maybe 2 minutes of real time later, she's just like, I actually want you to try on for the team, even though I hate seeing you wear that jersey. Was insane. I'm curious what you guys thought of that very quick decision making and change of thought and feeling.
I don't think it's that weird. I think it's an initial shock and gut reaction. I'm sure that seeing it brings up a lot of bad memories from her past, but also like Lucas is a good kid. So really quick, just like Chad Michael Murray of it all, let's compare it to Ryan Atwood from the OC super fast. Ryan Atwood is a good kid who does dumb shit and has runs with the law for it, and like his actions nearly ruin his future. Lucas Scott is a good kid. He's a bright kid, and he like does everything for his family. So I think it's easy for his mom to see that like Lucas is not the dad, that Lucas is not the mistakes. And what's actually best for Lucas is to do this thing that he clearly is so passionate about, and he's put so much on the back burner to support her and to be there for her. Like it would be selfish of her to be like, no, you can't play basketball.
Max, are you comparing it to our previous show, One Chino Hill?
Oh my God. No.
That's a little Inland Empire humor for all of our SoCal listeners.
So I want to focus, and rather than going detail by detail, because there's a lot of stuff that happens in this pilot we could absolutely go over, I want to talk about one central theme, and that's how much Dan Scott sucks. Dan Scott might be one of the worst characters we have done a pilot on as far as like his ability to be a father. He has a gym that has a carpet in it. That's just gross. And
we have like, dealt with literal serial killers on this podcast, and Dan Scott might be worse.
And like the idea of there's so much wrong with this character that makes him so easy to hate, which I think is just good writing, right? Like I don't think there's a single person who's going to watch this pilot and be like, you know what? Dan seems like a pretty great guy. Like, I definitely want to buy a Ford from Dan after watching his behavior.
He's bumping your own son off of a bench press when he's struggling with weight to prove your masculinity that you can lift that bar. The most sinister, dark thing we've seen a parent character do on the show.
It was so fast, too. That whole scene is so weird. It made me feel so uncomfortable.
The masculinity dynamic between those two is insanity, from the way that he helicopter parents his kid to the literal feats of strength and him shoving his kid off of the bench press to the reveal of Nathan's incredibly 2003 nipple piercing and saying that if I wanted a daughter, I would have had one.
To Nathan's retort. Yeah, he had a little hoop. He had a little hoop. He had a little baby hoop. But
Ball's life.
But also,
all about hoop in this show.
The interesting thing about that dynamic is, like, you can tell Nathan doesn't like his dad at all.
No.
Like, Nathan even is like, fuck this guy. This guy sucks. Like, and it's just such an interesting relationship for us to be able to be like, yeah, Lucas fucking hates this guy because he doesn't even want Lucas alive. And Lucas is 17 and he's still like, can we potentially get an abortion for the 17-year-old? Then you have Nathan, who's just like, fuck this guy. I had to live with him and he's ruined my life for 17 years. And then there's everyone in the town that's just like, fuck this guy. He's
not
awful.
To mention, he makes his money from owning a successful car dealership because he was a high school basketball star in a small town.
It's still 1970, baby. I haven't yet to see the peaked in high school chasing former glory alpha male dad specifically for basketball in anything before. You can see it 100 times in football, you see it 100 times for baseball, but I've never seen it for basketball before. This is fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think that having Dan be as despicable as he is it allows us to have the audience all be rooting against him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, accidentally, maybe purposefully in this pilot, we then, because of Dan's actions and telling his son, you're going to get him off the team no matter what, he's never going to step foot in that stadium because he's going to fuck it up for us. And he specifically says, we have worked too hard. We, like, some of that demanding ownership owning your child bullshit.
Great catch on the writing there, Jeff.
And I do feel like that it will, this is me just taking a guess, but it feels like it's going to be revealed that having the two kids like kind of cost him something really big for his own basketball future. If I had to,
don't get two women pregnant in 3 months. I don't know what to tell you.
Men will do anything but learn how to use a condom, and it's just one of those things.
There's one thing this podcast is about.
It's about
sexual education.
It's about sexual education, oh my God. Like, so we get, Dan causes our big problem, which is Dan says, you're going to get him off the basketball team. Nathan just rolls up in his fucking, like, I don't know what to call it, souped up, pimped out Ford that he definitely got from Daddy's dealership, and goes on the court and challenges our man Lucas to a one-on-one basketball game.
Let's also talk about the scene where Nathan is challenging Lucas to this basketball game, because it felt like an 80s ski movie where it's like, if I can make it faster down Dead Man's Curve than you, then that means my crew owns this mountain. Like, that is like, the stakes are so low for Lucas. He doesn't care at all. Why did he do this?
I guess, Max, from your perspective, hearing this challenge, hearing what's at stake as well, of like, Nathan's only thought is, you're not going to be on the basketball team. You're never going to show up. His first thought of like, what's the best deal for him? Oh, I'll leave the basketball team. That's the best thing for you. Like, what are you thinking seeing that scene?
I think that this entire show is so coded in classical literature tropes, and that's what I thought the entire time. From the villainous father having the good son and the bastard son to have to challenge each other for status and supremacy, to all of Lucas's over-the-top dramatic theatrical VO moments, to him being gifted classical literature to like nurture his growth. Like, this is just a show that takes these downright like Shakespearean themes and puts them into high school basketball, which I find so entertaining.
I was going to say, are you upset that they stole your senior thesis?
This is actually Max's introduction to his TED Talk.
Dude, do not even get me started on high school basketball Hamlet going on over here.
Oh my God.
It's so, I don't even know if it's the right one. It just sounded good off the tongue. But it's like, but then you do like all of these like high stakes, like dramatic themes, and it's just like loser quits the team. It's like, oh, okay, like to you, that's the biggest problem in your world. But like in actuality, the stakes are so low. But I don't know. I'm such a sucker for everything happening here. I love the way they set up the teen drama of it all. I'm so bought in. I'm so bought into the show.
Yeah, I mean, we also get like there's a couple of other moments in the show, but there's one that before we talk and dissect ball and some street ball, we go into our own version of And One. Let's talk about the scene between Lucas and Peyton, because I think that's an important one, right? Peyton's bitchin' ride breaks down on the side of the road, and Lucas comes to the rescue because he works at a body shop and he comes to tow. And this is a really, I think, a good reveal of, hey, maybe this is the first time these two characters have talked ever. Because it seems like even though you go to the same school, no one says hello to each other, which is allowed. But also we get to learn. It's a great opportunity to reveal Lucas's motivations while also revealing that, like, hey, he might have some chemistry with Peyton and Nathan's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So what were you two getting from this scene?
I mean, it felt, I don't know, it felt really weird that two clearly half brothers are going after the same girl. It's just like
Shakespearean, bro.
Yeah. You obviously haven't watched The Summer I Turned Pretty. Like, that's
which is my favorite Shakespeare play. Clearly the Shakespearean vibes of like, I have to kill my dad. it's also pretty strong in this. Yeah, I just like, I'm still not bought in on Peyton's motivations here, but also, I mean, they use her as like a good needle drop like character, I guess. Like, I mean, we can talk about the music now, but like I don't know why this is like such a weird conflict for her. Maybe it's just like high school indecisiveness or something, but it just, it would feel weird if two like basically siblings were competing for me.
I think Peyton, though, is also torn between two worlds. She's forced to embody so many things to be a part of this high school hierarchy that it feels like is so prominent at Tree Hill High. She is a cheerleader and she's dating this basketball star who treats her really poorly. Nathan just allows his teammates to make jokes about rumors that she's a cam girl in her room and says nothing to discredit them. But she's a...
Oh, I thought that was Lucas's friends. I think Lucas's friends say
Is it Lucas's friends who make the joke?
Yeah, it's Lucas's friends at the basketball court.
But still, it's like, you know, she's all of these things, but really she's a classic punk rock lover, and she's super into music. She has that really wild vinyl room, although I will say, I don't know if like the vinyl revival totally kicked in yet, that she'd be listening to like...
No one bought a 45 of the Ataris, you know what I'm saying?
I was going to say, her listening to like modern day pop punk records on vinyl in 2003 feels like a little bit of a stretch, but I digress. But she's torn between these things that she feels like she has to represent and the things that are actually authentic to herself. And I think that having her now in the middle between Lucas and Nathan encapsulates that internal struggle, because it's like Lucas allows her the path to being her more authentic self. Nathan provides her with comforts in high school, but like also sets her down a treacherous path to probably make the same mistakes of Nathan's father. So which way is she going to go? So like, we need to see her spend that time with Lucas to understand that she's more than the cheerleader and the star's girlfriend.
Yeah, she does give you do in this scene get that like Garden State 500 Days of Summer moment of like, yeah, she's a cheerleader, but she can read.
Yeah, I also got the vibe of like, yeah, he's the basketball coach or basketball player. He treats me poorly, But this other guy's mysterious because he's doing the bare fucking minimum, and he reads, and he plays basketball. It's leveling up.
I would have liked to see Peyton have like parents in this pilot. I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see this entire pilot takes place with almost zero parental supervision. It is very fun. It's very funny to me how little families come into play on this.
What about you, Max?
I just like that they make the reference to her no FX like fandom, and it's like, oh yeah, Peyton knows who Fat Mike is. Like, this is really important to her character development.
She's an artist.
So I'm going to, rather than us dissecting play by play, our street ball game that we get, our
because unfortunately we do not have the monitor that we could draw on with highlighters.
I would like to, Max, as one of our basketball aficionados, why don't you describe the strong suits of Nathan versus Lucas Scott, and what are their strong points? What are the weaknesses in their game?
I want to talk about the home court advantage that Lucas has because he knows this court better than anyone. He knows the way the ball is going to bounce off of the concrete. He knows where the cracks are. He knows how that bolted on rim is going to hold and how the ball is going to hit off of it. This is really important. Gym ball and street ball are different dynamics. And
Max,
Lucas...
You watch Hoosiers, still 10 feet. Still 10 feet.
Yeah, but the way that rim is secured, there's no net on it. The ball's going to hit
like
differently.
9 3/4.
And Lucas knows those things. And I love the like N.E.R.D mixtape of it all with the boys rolling in with their cars to kind of like encapsulate the ring, like, to like circle the court. It is packed. I love the play-by-play color commentary. In terms of the actual gameplay itself, Lucas has some nice touch on his shot. It's also so much clearer how much better Nathan is at ball, though. Like, he is more athletic. He's got a better dribble than Lucas does. But, like, Lucas then just keeps hitting these, like, standing jumpers from 15 feet out to keep this game close the entire time.
He did get that backboard block. He did. He got the LeBron block.
Oh, he went LeBron 16 finals on him. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the extra that was shooting for Chad Michael Murray did dunk the ball at one point in time, and
That's
was
true.
pretty impressive.
What is the percentage of high school athletes that can dunk? Because it seems to happen a lot in this extremely small town.
They both were dunking a decent amount, and I was just like, good for them. I can't do that, but you can.
I do wonder, though, how much of this is Lucas toying with Nathan. Because then we get that final segment where it's 14-12. Nathan is up. He just hard fouled his brother. Drew blood, but Lucas says no foul. He's kind of toyed them a little bit there. Next basket for Nathan wins. And we get the block. We get 2 quick shots to tie it up. And then we get this little, like, baseline shimmy fadeaway swish move. And so I'm like, okay, were you not showing him every move in your bag until the end of the game to get him confident and then take it all away from him? Or, did you just get a couple of breaks there late in the game that you didn't even know you could do?
I'm also going to say it. Nathan Scott sucks at guarding the 3. It's just a hole in his game that he needs to work on. And you know what?
I think that's like a machismo thing. You don't want to throw up a block on a 3-pointer.
No, you want to throw up a block on a 3-pointer. It's so fucking satisfying. But this episode ends very simply with, we see Lucas win the game. But we find out, like, Nathan throws in, there's this great line that is thrown in, and it obviously cut to commercial, where Nathan's like, oh yeah, Lucas wanted to change the deal. We're playing for you. To Peyton, which, like, immediately I was like, you know what? I was sort of rooting for Lucas, and now I am not at all.
Now you're not rooting for anyone.
Yeah, now everyone sucks. I want all of the ACLs to tear. But the ending of us finding out Lucas saying, hey, if I won, I wanted Nathan to stay on the team because it's that much harder for him. It's going to make his life a living nightmare. Mm-hmm. And then we get that final scene of them all in the gym and this outsider entering the gym to the cheerleaders, to the coach, to the players, and this outsider from entering a new world. It was a nice, like, cut to black sort of scene for us to end on.
I love the final shot of the court, the street ball court, empty in Twilight, just kind of showing that Lucas is moving on from this outsider status into this new world. Like, he's exiting the comfort of the known and entering the unknown.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was a great way to end the pilot. Well, that is our pilot, boys, but let's talk a little bit about things we loved about the show that maybe we did not talk about during our episode. Rich, are there any things that you loved about this pilot that maybe you wanted to discuss and more?
Yeah, I gotta go. Peyton's 2003 ass website. That was pretty great.
Yes, thank you so much.
That was like, I just learned HTML for the first time looking website, and I absolutely loved it.
Peyton's website and then her just staring into a camera was also a wait a minute moment for me, because like this is before Twitch streaming was a thing, and like, but I'm also like, this is the least engaging but most terrifying, and like I can't take my eyes off this teenager just staring into a camera on her website, and that's insane. Max, you seemed ready with something that you loved about this pilot. What was on your mind?
I've got two. The first one's really quick. It's just that they love basketball in this show so much that, in fact, there's an entire scene about reminiscing over watching NBA Hall of Famer David Thompson play high school ball and what it meant to go see him play at a high school gym. And I cannot imagine that anyone in 2003, it's the target audience for One Tree Hill, be like, oh man, yeah, Skywalker David Thompson himself, former Denver Nuggets NBA Hall of Famer David Thompson, hell yeah. That's just, it's such a specific that shows like what it means to this community and what it means to the Scott family. But it's also such a delightful specific to me of like the old heads remembering seeing this NBA legend play high school ball. We gotta talk soundtrack.
I'm so happy you brought that up, because that is my thing that I loved.
I'm shocked it's taken until now,
because like there are so many great songs that like this pilot is so 2003, and it wants you to know it is 2003, because we get like, it's just banger after banger after banger, and
T.I., Dashboard Confessional, the Ataris, N.E.R.D.
Yeah, like we didn't even get, like we were talking about before we started filming, this show has an iconic theme song that we don't hear in the pilot, and I'm still walking away pumped about all of this music.
Yeah,
Max, what were your thoughts?
The cut scene. So we talked about the entire stolen bus, Peyton in her car, the cuts back and forth, and the entire time we are like DJ mixer cutting back and forth between 24s by T.I. and Hands Down by Dashboard Confessional, and I am screaming out loud as how they transition back and forth between these two, getting ready to play ball to Are You Gonna Be My Girl, and watching them lace up their sneakers to the opening little coughs into the mic of that song, the blaring of Lap Dance by N.E.R.D. as Nathan and his like caravan of bullies roll up to the streetball court. All of it is so good. And yes, I was so bummed to learn that the theme song for this is I Don't Wanna Be by Gavin DeGraw, the most VH1 Top 20 video countdown core song of all time, an artist who I saw play a free concert after a New Jersey Nets game when I was this age as well. The Gavin DeGraw ball connection runs deep.
And that is how Max is connected to this pilot.
Also kids on the court. That's the connection.
Yeah, I guess as far as wait a minute moments, what were some wait a minute moments for either of you?
Well, we definitely covered the weightlifting scene, which is just like so bizarre to me. I got another Peyton one, which feels unfair for the amount of airtime that she gets. But don't drive around in a classic car if you don't know how to get out of a jam with the engine. Don't do that. I feel like you're just asking to get stranded constantly. Don't. It's a sweet ass ride. Don't get me wrong. But if you don't know how to cool down the engine, you gotta figure that shit out. Otherwise, you're just gonna be calling the tow company constantly.
Max, what about you?
North Carolina public school sex education for allowing Mr. Scott to get 2 women pregnant in 3 months' time.
And for me, I'd like you to bring you both into Jeff's lifting corner 101. We're going to talk about how the incline bench, the way they had that bench set, it doesn't really hit the full...
I was hoping you would do this. I was
really hoping you would do
this.
The full fibers.
You need to frame the camera, Jeff.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit the full fibers of the pecs. If you're really looking for that upper pec with a little bit of deltoid hitting, you're much better off using some cables with a Versa grip associated with them. If you want to get to my sponsor, Versa Grip, and use the code Jeff10, you'll get $10 off your next pair. But in all honesty,
I don't know if that's true or not. It feels like it's true.
But in all honesty, that scene gave me like just so much ick. Like the idea that you are so successful, you have so much money that you built a house and you have this trophy case in the background, that I was just like, okay, that's gross, and like
lifting in front of trophies is so insane. Chill
the fuck out. But then also, you built this gym room and you have a carpeted floor. Are you insane? That is that is just,
I know,
you're getting so much mold. It
smells goofy in there.
So much mold is underneath that carpet. And they are really, that's why Dan is such a bad dad. He's been inhaling black mold for years upon years.
It fried his brain and also gave him a 14 hat size.
Oh my God. And then one last thing. This segment has been retired for a bit, but I have to give Keith Scott Daddy of the Week. Keith is 100% our Daddy of the Week.
Oh, hell
even
yeah,
though
dude. That Dane Cook haircut? Come on.
Yeah, Keith is the fucking greatest. Like, we love a father figure who actually is supportive and, like, wants everyone's success. So, like, fuck yeah, Keith, you're Daddy of the Week. We do have an in-flight question, gentlemen. And this is coming from our guest, our frequent flyer named Michelle. And Michelle said, while the Ravens stole a school bus to celebrate their victory, what was your closest high school arrest encounter? Please, no incrimination. So I'm asking you two gentlemen, what was your closest encounter to being arrested in high school?
I think I should go first because I probably have the weakest story.
Go for it, Rich.
So no run-ins with the police aside from like any speeding tickets or whatever like that. Mm-hmm. But definitely the fact that I used to buy weed on school grounds like a fucking idiot. We were all so stupid. That was like such a heavily video monitored like parking lot that was outside of our school. And I would buy it for my friend in his car underneath a video camera.
Oh my God. Max, what about yourself?
So when I just graduated high school, so summer for senior year, and I did one of those like, teen tours where you and like 24 people all wear matching backpacks and go to Europe for cultural immersion or some shit like that. And we were in Spain. We went to the city of Toledo, which its history is like an ancient armory city. And there's a bunch of 17, 18-year-old boys. So we all bought swords, and we, bought swords and like antique replicas of pistols and things like that. And we went immediately to the Prado Museum instead of going back to the hotel like we thought we were going to first, because we were running short on time that day. And so when I went with my ticket claim to pick up the box that had all the swords and fake pistols in it, I got detained by the police inside the Prado Museum, where I was thoroughly interrogated in Spanish at a level that I was not proficient in, until one of the officers inspected the prop gun, looked at me, called me an American cowboy, and told me to get out of there.
I feel like I can't tell mine now, but I'll tell mine really quickly.
This is Jeff's story about how he shot someone in the Prado Museum. Jeff put a bullet hole in Guernica.
Oh my God. So when I was in my sophomore year of high school, there was a New Year's Eve party that someone was hosting. That was your typical high school party. There were beverages, there were other extracurricular activities being done. And right around 12:45, so like midnight had been called, everyone's having a good time. I am in the upstairs bedroom and I hear the cop sirens, or I see the lights, and I see one of my classmates walk out, and this human is 5'1", weighs 115 pounds wet. Like, this
That's
is a
so
such a small child. And he has a beer in his hand. And I watch the cops see him, and a no less than 230-pound man tackles this child to the ground.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh my God. So I
Holy
gather
shit.
up my crew, and I'm like, we gotta go. I have never been more athletic than jumping over a fence in Florida. And like, this is like right behind, you don't go in lakes in Florida. It is like just common knowledge. You don't go in a body of water because there's an alligator in there. I have never been so close to thinking I have to go in the body of water than in this moment in time. And there were like 20 people arrested at this party. And like, I happened to not have gotten arrested. So, you know what? Shout out to Gage Alper for driving me home that night. Gage, shout out to you for being the sober driver in your Hummer H2.
Is that person now a state senator, or what's going on?
No, Gage is doing great. Gage's brother's out in Hollywood directing stuff. He's doing great. So like,
wait, okay, so can we go back to the fact that your friend basically got like police abuse in the tackled by someone twice their size? That's insane.
It was, Florida is wild, man. We all got our Florida stories.
God damn.
Maybe that's not my most Florida story, but it's a good one. Wow. Let's talk a little bit. First, thank you for that in-flight question. We'll talk a little bit more about submitting those at the end of the show.
We got so many this week. It was great. Thank you all.
Yeah. We got like, I think we got a total of 12 in-flight questions. So you guys, like, that's amazing. We thank you. We'll make sure to try to answer more if we're just running really over on this episode. But let's talk a little bit more about this show. So this is another one of those classic WB to CW transition shows. And there was not just one Tree Hill. There was 9 seasons and 187 Tree Hills, or 187 episodes.
That's a forest and a mountain range.
So while this show has found new life, it never broke the top 100 for TV shows in the United States. It actually topped out at 110 in 2009, but its highest viewership season was season 2, which was fairly maligned, it sounds like. And that got 4.34 million viewers.
That's still pretty
on
solid
average per episode.
For a WB show.
All right, here's the question. 9 seasons. How many times did the CW/WB change the time slot for the show?
Ooh, 180 something episodes?
Max says 6.
I'm going 20.
It was 9. My favorite one was there was a season they changed it 3 times in the middle of the season.
Why did they do that?
Which is just bonkers. Like, this show ranged anywhere. Like, when you think about the WB and CW, there's not that many shows that they have. This show ranged from everywhere from the number 2 to the number 9 TV show on the network, which is interesting as
Shows that change like that, though, do not last 9 seasons and 170, 180 something episodes. They last 3 seasons and then get shit canned. It's amazing that One Tree Hill just kept chugging along despite every obstacle its own network threw in its path.
So let's talk a little bit about one other thing this show was really notorious for, and that was sponsorships and in-show product placements.
What?
Everything from, we saw Nike in this episode being famously worn by Nathan. There were things like Sunkist just being stocked in everyone's fridges. There was a Rock the Vote sponsored episode, a Starburst sponsored episode, and there was an episode I found that a pivotal plot point was the game Sims 3. And playing that game,
which is perfect show,
which is insane.
What?
So you can find the show on DVD. There are a ton of them out there, and all of the seasons were made on DVD. You can also basically find the show on almost every streaming service. So if you have one, I watched this on Hulu. Max probably watched this on Max, and Rich refuses to pay for streaming services and watch this on a Bulgarian website. So as far as awards, the show has 27 nominations and 3 surfboards. And as far as the show goes, of the 27 nominations that this show got, only 2 of them were not of the surfboard variety. And that is this show. Rich, what is your game of the week?
Well, in honor of Sir Chad Michael Murray, let's do some trivia on some more 3-name celebrities who probably had to choose longer names because of SAG-AFTRA. All right, so number 1, and both of you guys can chime in on this. Both of you have a pretty extensive knowledge of actors at this point. Born in East LA, graduate of Montebello High School, he's an actor, producer, and humanitarian with nominations for Tony, Emmy, and Oscar awards. Edward James Olmos, in his 50th year of his acting career, 50 years. In addition to all that, what rapper's music video did he appear in? A, Eazy-E, B, Curtis Blow, C, Tupac, D, Snoop Dogg.
I'm going to say Tupac video.
I'm going to say Snoop Dogg because you put those together for a specific reason.
Jeff, you hit it with Snoop Dogg. Edward James Olmos is in a Snoop Dogg music video. Who knows why? From question number 2, from Arcaboutla, Mississippi, and with an acting career now over 60 years running, James Earl Jones and his iconic voice have been part of seemingly every important movie of the past 3 generations. And also to his credit, he was the first established celebrity to appear on what? A, Schoolhouse Rock, B, Sesame Street, C, The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, D, The Electric Company.
I will say D, The Electric Company.
I'm going to say Schoolhouse Rock.
It was Sesame Street. James Earl Jones was the first
really
celebrity
cool.
guest on Sesame Street. I want to say 1969, I think they said it was.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Finally, born in 1988 to a teacher mom and actor dad, Haley Joel Osment began acting at 4 years old, landing a Pizza Hut commercial and subsequently getting a slightly bigger role as Forrest Gump Jr. in the movie Forrest Gump. His first ever TV series, appearance, however, was on this comedian's TV show. A, Jerry Seinfeld, B, Ellen DeGeneres, C, Dana Carvey, D, Gary Shandling.
Max, what are you thinking?
I'm going to say the short-lived Dana Carvey show.
Geez, I'm going to say C.
His first appearance was on the Larry Sanders Show, so Gary Shandling.
Wow.
Very cool.
1992, I believe it was. Yeah. Or no, sorry, 1994. 6 years old, he played Small Child or Little Boy.
Yeah. How did you know my nickname in high school?
Well, you were 115 pounds soaking wet.
Oh, my God. Well, Rich, thank you so much for your game of the week. Gentlemen, as our podcast, as our flight comes to a land, I have 2 final questions for each of you. And one is based off of this pilot. Are you in for more? Do you want to learn more about the Scott brothers and their legacy and their rivalry? And 2 is, this is a little bit of a unique show for CW nowadays. There's a lot more.
No one else was sponsored by Sunkist.
No one's currently sponsored by Sunkist. That would be so funny if I was just like, do you think there should be another show sponsored by Sunkist? Like, discussed. But no, in all honesty, do you think that there is a place for this type of sports-esque show with, some drama behind it for high schoolers? Like, we don't have Friday Night Lights. We don't have even like a Blue Mountain State where it's not drama, but it is centered around a game. What are you thinking?
Personally, I'm going, I'll give this one another shot, but these episodes are way too long. This is another like 22 pilot turned 40 minute. And if we're coming back to it, I would only want to see like a Not Another Teen Movie type parody of this. I don't think I'd want to watch a reemergence of One Tree Hill where Lucas is now like the scary basketball dad. I don't want to see that happen. I think reboot time is over.
Max, what about yourself?
I think I've made my answer really clear. Listen, the grip that one 3-named Chad Michael Murray had at this point in 2003, A month before this show premieres, he stars in Freaky Friday across Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Cinderella Story comes out this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, Cinderella Story comes out mere months before, I think, even the first season ends. The vice grip he has, the power of this man in 2003. Yeah, I'm all in. This is a ridiculous in the right way kind of show for me. The only teen drama I can think of handling sports right now is All American at CW, which is really quietly going into like season 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to see more. I'm here for it. I think that it's just a fun foundry for a show. And if we could see a resurgence of that genre, I'd be all for it.
Music's awesome. Basketball. Thrilling plotline.
Just the word basketball.
I'm 100% in for at least a few more episodes. With that said, I am a sucker for a sports show a show that has sports and drama associated with it, right? Like
totally.
Hard Knocks Watch is like appointment television for me because like that even raises the stakes more because it's like they're real people and you get to watch their lives hypothetically crumble. Like, oh, how delightful.
Oh God.
But like I think that there is this show is slowly finding a resurgence with a new generation. And there's a reason why, right? It's compelling television. So I would not be surprised if someone sitting down at Hulu was like, we're seeing One Tree Hill get a lot of talk. Like, do we want to make something that's similar to this for a now? And like, I don't know, make it about the under 20 cricket team that just beat Pakistan. I'm fucking in. I'll finally learn what the rules of cricket are. And like, also, it will be great.
Dude, I typed the letter O into HBO Max, and this show was the first thing that came up. I typed the letter O, and I got it. People are watching this show.
Faster than HBO's Oz. Fascinating.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing. So, like, yeah, I think that there's an appetite for something like this. Does it need the original cast? No. Leave them alone. Like, let them be. Let them enjoy their the Drama Queen podcast, and like let Chad Michael Murray do Mother of the Bride on Netflix because that was like hysterical seeing him on that. Mm-hmm. But for now, yeah, I would love to see a little bit more of this. And gentlemen, our flight has landed. And I'd love to make sure that folks can find a little bit more of you if they're looking for you. So where can folks find you? Max, where can folks find you?
You can find me working on my fadeaway J's at the street park at midnight. You can find me on all things social media at Maxwell Sig, as well as original sketch comedy for myself and Rich over on TikTok at Dad Wagon Comedy.
You can find me not bothering to shower tonight, and you can also find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. Swish.
And you can find me randomly acting like a sports commentator at random basketball games in the park. I know you asked me not to do it, but I have to. But if you want to find me if you want to find me on social media, you can find me at Run Jeff Run. If you want to find the TV Pilots License, you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, as well as watch our smiling faces on YouTube at the TV Pilots License. If you have a question for our show, maybe you want to be our next in-flight question, you can either shoot us a DM on Instagram, give us a call at 213-290-1713, and shoot us an email at tvpilotslicense@gmail.com. Look out for some of the great stuff that we have coming out. I have a feeling we might be talking about some more basketball very, very soon. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. And until then,
I don't want to be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately.